The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Realizing the truth of the statement, I, Dr. Sumedha Dhasmana, welcome you all to the valedictory function of the second course of Masters in Mass Communication, batch 2023-2025. MA Mass Communication was started in 2022 at Vivekananda Institute of Professional Studies Technical Campus with the goal of making industry-ready media professionals. The course has already garnered immense popularity among students and has also started to prove its presence in the market. The teaching pedagogy being adopted at MAMC is a unique combination of industry mentors and highly skilled and proficient permanent faculty members. All this has been made possible under the able leadership of our chairman, Dr. S.C. Vats, who is a visionary, educationist, philanthropist, and head of Vivekananda Institute of Professional Studies Technical Campus. Our vice chairman and co-founder, Mr. Suneet Vats, our chairperson, Professor Siddharth Mishra, who heads the Vivekananda School of Journalism and Mass Communication, and the Dean, Professor Dr. Charulata Singh. Professor Dr. Charulata Singh is a veteran academician and closely associated with PR industry in her capacity as the Delhi chapter head of PRSI. I would now like to request our Dean, Professor Dr. Charulata Singh, to formally call the House. Please, ma'am.
Very good evening, distinguished guests, esteemed faculty, and most importantly, our graduating students and our guests. It is with great honor and heartfelt joy I welcome you all to this momentous occasion on behalf of Vivekananda Institute of Professional Studies Technical Campus. I hereby declare the valedictory function for Masters of Arts in Mass Communication for the batch 2023-25 officially open. Today we gather not only to celebrate academic achievement, but to honor the dedication, perseverance, and growth that have brought our postgraduate students this significant milestone. So let the ceremony begin. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. As I had mentioned earlier, this course has had the unique opportunity for being mentored by a large number of industry professionals who are here today to bless their pupils and see them blossom in the arena of mass communication. I take this opportunity to welcome and thank our well-wishers from the industry and, of course, the valedictory address speaker, Dr. Harish Khare, former editor-in-chief, the Tribune, former resident editor, the Hindu, and former media advisor at the PMO. May I request our Vice Chairman, Mr. Suneet Vats, to formally welcome our Speaker of the Day, Dr. Harish Khare. Would also request Siddharth Sir and Charu Ma'am to join in the felicitation of Dr. Khare. Thank you so much. It is appropriate that the vision of the Institute and the mission of its founders be heard from them itself. I would request the Vice Chairman, Mr. Suneet Vats, to deliver the welcome address. Sir is co-founder and Vice Chairman, WIPS TC. 25 years ago, he chugged a promising career in corporate world.
Okay.
I'll complete my sentence.
No, it's okay.
To undertake a journey.
It's okay.
Okay, sir.
Time is precious. Good evening, everyone. I take this opportunity and honor to be present here and It's good to see the smiles on this batch which is passing out. Our distinguished guest, I was telling Siddharth sir that thank you for this opportunity. You have somebody who's so upright, and it's very rare nowadays to see somebody of this stature and, with this kind of a quality that you stand up and you speak truth when it needs to be spoken about. And it's a very rare opportunity for all of us to be present here, to be listening to sir as he speaks and takes you through the landscape of media as it has changed from his times to the generation that is passing out. I know you have a lot of hopes and dreams and, much more to achieve in terms of your mission and vision in life. Your parents' dreams also to be, associated with it. And I wish that you fulfill each one of them. Maintaining the integrity that has been given to you, not just the skills that you possess by completing a course. Don't let it just be a degree for you. So we started off this journey in the year 2000 when my father, with his meager resources, sold his ancestral home, brought in the seed capital. But then what was more inspiring was Swamiji's vision of, creating an institution with the same values that Swamiji, taught and practiced all his life. So it's a very rare combination of, head and heart and Eastern wisdom with Western science that we have been able to achieve this milestone of completing 25 years this year. And it could not have been possible without the effort of all the faculty members who are present here. Some of them have been with us for last more than, I think, 18 to 20 years, right? Because we started journalism a little late, so that's why. Our first initiatives were in law and in IT. But then my father had a vision of, leading some change, and he said we have to be catalyst of change. So he chose two very important areas of, democracy. One was law, which is judiciary, independent judiciary, and journalism as the backbone of, our democracy. I would not comment on the present state. I'm not competent to comment on that. Fine. But then we all know we are sensitive enough to see through what is happening. And from print, when it started, and a structured way of, delivering news and how the board was constituted and the editorial board itself, the decisions it made. Now it has come down to something which is a user-generated content, which is unedited, unbiased, and created, at the very spot that the news happens. So with this kind of a changing, fast-paced, environment that we work in now, it is all the more important that we do fact check. We do a lot of integrity, based thing. We should kindly subscribe to, I don't know whether you're being taught, big data techniques, because that is something which data journalism would possibly, do away with a little bit of these evils that we have, So I see it as a tectonic, plate shifting from one area to another. But what remains central is that it is a public good. Journalism was always taken to be a public good. It was never a business for anybody. So we may have paywalls, we may have, different content being delivered at different prices. There's a crowdfunding model which has come in now. YouTube channels which have come in now, which is forming alternative narratives to what is being done by the mainstream media. So I don't know, what will happen. Though presence, if you see YouTube-wise also, fine, and I don't know whether you were taught in those particular skills and how many of you possibly have YouTube channels, or do content, which is online these days. But then you have to be very serious when it comes to, it's not just about throwing some, content on the media itself and creating a havoc. This viral game that has begun, which is unverified, unsubstantiated, claims that are made at times is a very dangerous trend which is happening in our society. Any saner person would lose its mind or, its logic and thinking when it comes to, dealing with this kind of a bombardment of, ideas that come to you from all sides. So I think it's a real challenge that you students will face when you go out in your media organizations. I know you have a lot of questions in your hearts. Fine. You look up to people like sir to kind of, be a role model for them and follow the footsteps. But then I tell you, it is not for the weak-hearted. It is a, very, very, you need to have that grit and the will to actually do something of the nature that you see here. Our mentors, all of them are sitting here, and they have done a wonderful job in training you people, making you sensitive enough to what the content should be. It is not just about, learning the skills. Yes, those are important, but the underlying central point still remains that, are you a good human being? Do you have empathy? Do you kind of identify issues which are real issues, not just sensationalized news the way it should be sensationalized? We saw what happened in the war and the kind of coverage that people did in the war. And some of them claiming that we have taken over and whatnot. But then it was difficult to navigate through the sea of, misinformation that was afloat. So the challenges are there. You as media people will have to be really very, very, upright, and somebody to have a moral yardstick which nobody should be able to shake. I know it looks difficult during this time, but as I said, there's a transition, there's always a churn which happens in any industry for that matter, and this churn may be for a good. And we may see brighter sides to, media. A lot of these YouTube channels which are credible ones, and it's a cat and mouse race, as I say. Why a cat and mouse race? Because anything that you do, an alternative media that is doing is, YouTube, any good channel, there's subsequent regulation which comes in place. So it will always keep happening. How do you evolve? How do you recognize? Fine. And how do you stand for your own rights and that for your, fellow citizens is something that will differentiate you from the others. If you want to be part of the league, you're more than welcome. But then I don't think that you will do justice to your mentors who are sitting here. They have been trained in a certain way, which may look like an outdated value system, but then that value system is time-tested, I'm telling you. And that is what will stand you through your profession and these, wavery things that will come your way. I know you're not in for a good, big lecture from me. Sir has a lot to contribute in terms of his own experiences that he carries, and we all look forward to his, lecture when he speaks. I know there will be pearls of wisdom coming through his, mind, and his own personal experiences would be greater insights into what really is happening. And we would love to hear, sir, for that. On one last thing, AI, and it's, because if I'm touching everything, the landscape should be possibly, I'm just, oscillating between ideas so that I set the tone for this, subsequent discourse that happens. And you know what AI will do and how AI is taking over news content, creating everything, at a go. It is listening to a lot of chatter which is happening online. So how do you kind of, identify fake news versus fake narratives so it's an art. You need to be upskilling yourself every time. And I keep saying, one has to be a lifelong learner. Don't stop your learning after your master's and say that we have achieved something in life. No. Life will go on. It will throw you challenges. It will keep challenging you in different ways. If you're not updated with the information that you have, maybe 5 years down the line, and the pace is very fast, I'm telling you. Maybe next newsroom would be completely automated with AI and robotic, news readers. You never know what's going to happen in future. I'm only limiting to journalism. I know a lot of people have done advertising and other areas of specialization also. You look out for trends, because if you want yourself to be updated with the knowledge that you want, I think what you need to be is a keen learner, observe closely, look out for the trends which are emerging, and try to do something there so that you stay relevant, stay, productive to the society, and yet make a difference in whatever you do. With those words, sir, I would once again thank you for accepting our invitation. Charu ma'am, Siddharth sir, faculty members, our mentors, thank you so much. And I now hand it over to. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And now the talk that we all had been waiting for is none other than by Dr. Harish Khare. Dr. Khare, a PhD in political science from Yale University, USA, is former editor-in-chief, The Tribune, former resident editor, The Hindu. He served as the media advisor to Prime Minister's office from June 2009 to January 2012. Dr. Khare has more than 3 decades of experience as a reporter, commentator, public policy analyst, and academic researcher. He has worked for other leading organizations like the Times of India and Hindustan Times. He has written for various other Indian and foreign publications. He was awarded the Jawaharlal Nehru Fellowship for his project, Governing India in the 21st Century, Reinventing Nehruvian Executive Leadership Mode. He now considers himself as an intermittent public intellectual. He published a book on the Lok Sabha elections, How Modi Won It, Notes from the 2014 election. I would now request Dr. Khare to kindly address the gathering. Sir, please.
Good evening, Dr. Butts, Madam Principal, distinguished faculty, young friends. I'm very grateful for this opportunity to have I don't like to call a lecture, but a conversation with young, graduating, ambitious, anxious crowd. And as I look at these faces, I'm deeply conscious that you and I belong to very different generations. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that very few of you read newspapers. And I subscribe to 7 newspapers, 4 in English and 3 in Hindi. So there is a bit of a divide between us. And I'm 100% sure that all of you are deeply embedded and probably lost in the bylanes of digital world. I have no connection whatsoever with the digital. I'm not on Twitter. I don't have a Facebook account. I don't do Instagram. So we are totally strangers. But again, there's a link between you and me. And the link is that you want to be a journalist, I presume. And I have been a journalist for 4 decades. Decades of, if I may say so, of enormous professional joy, intellectual satisfaction, and of ethical conduct. So we are now talking of the changing landscape. But my basic thesis is journalism is journalism. Only the forms change. So let me try to say a few things about what is journalism and how it has changed over the years. And I have a story which I tell to every young reporter or group of reporters or potential reporters. In 1981, much before most of you were born, probably all of you were not born by the time. This is 1981 I'm talking about. I had just come back from the United States. And I started working as assistant editor at the Hindustan Times. The famous writer Manmohan Singh was our editor. And he was a great mentor and a great guide and teacher to work with. And I think unconsciously, those were the days when there was no mobiles, no internet. We had only landlines and an old-fashioned technology called teleprinter, which was available only to newspapers and thank you. So, and it was very common in those days, anybody who was unhappy with newspaper reporting, he or she would go to the newspaper and demand to see the editor. Today editors have police protection. So those were the easy days. And people would come angry, annoyed, and come and see. I was just a couple of weeks into profession in India. And one day on page 3 of Hindustan Times, there was a headline. Some sadhu has been arrested on a charge of molestation. And the sub-editor, his name was Sadachari, so some sub-editor gave a brilliant inspired headline. And it said, not Sadachari, but Bhrashtachari. Now this sadhu, he was, I don't know why he read the English newspaper, but somehow the other somebody must have drawn his attention to it. And he was very, very annoyed, and he angrily came to the Hindustan Times office, was directed to the editor's wing, where the editor and 3-4 assistant editors have their cabins. So as it happened, there was nobody else. I was the only editor. So he came and saw me. And then we had a conversation which had a great impact on my understanding of profession. So he started telling me a long convoluted story of how great injustice has been done, and at the behest of people, fellow yoga gurus, sadhus who are jealous of his prose and fame and all that. So at the end I said, Swamiji, if you are such a accomplished pahuncha hua sadhu, why do you worry about a news item in page number 3 of an English newspaper, which probably none of your followers will read? And his response was wonderful. He said, young man, I was young at that time, he said, young man, you don't understand. There was a time in this land of ours when every morning people would read Ramayana and Gita. Today the first thing people read is Hindustan Times or Times of India. So it suddenly struck to me that what this man is saying, that the newspaper is, I mean, what does a person does when, I don't know these days, but every morning I will open my front door, the newspaper would be there, I bring it inside my bedroom. A totally stranger is coming into my bedroom. I mean, a bedroom I don't even allow my other members of the family except my wife to come. And I'm bringing, and this is a unwritten relationship between the newspaper and the reader, and it's a sacred relationship. And suddenly you realized that it is what an enormous burden. Anybody who is a journalist who belongs to a newspaper family, he carries with him or her this enormous burden and obligation to be truthful, to make your reader a citizen, a well-informed person. So that is, ladies and gentlemen, the fundamental role of the newspaper, of a journalist, that you are, there is a sacredness about this job. There may be, enormous other 1 minute fame, some hefty package, some notoriety. But at the end of the day, it's a sacred duty which you have a professional obligation to be trustworthy. Whatever your form of journalism, print, television, OTs, content. So it's a basic requirement which nobody should forget, that we are here on a very special, we have chosen to be very part of a special fraternity. And we are part of a larger democratic structure, as Mr. Watts was mentioning, that we are, journalism is fourth estate. So it's as important in the life of a nation as those who sit in parliament, those who sit on Raisina Hill, those who sit on judiciary. I will say that my job is as important as an editor. Throughout my life, I never allowed myself to think or feel intimidated in the presence of either a chief minister or prime minister or chief justice or speaker. Respectful, yes, but never defer to them that somehow the other, those people, just because they happen to be a prime minister or a chief minister or a cabinet minister, that you are automatically entitled to some, you have the law to, by law, all of you will, all these three branches, so probably have the power to over me. But as a professional, I don't feel the need to somehow defer to you. I respect you. But I will not defer to your superior wisdom. I will appreciate whatever I say or write or think or critique would be out of a certain degree of critical inquiry. After all, a citizen my reader is a citizen. My reader is not 4 or 5 people in the cabinet or anybody else. My primary responsibility, my primary duty, my obligation is to my reader. And I can cite numerous examples from my professional life over the years when I have told very, very powerful people that Mr. Khare, we thought you were one of us, you understood our point of view. I said, sir, sorry, ma'am, I'm sorry. My responsibility is only to my reader. My profession to be truthful to the best of my ability. You may find me biased, you may find, because I'm not doing your writing something in your favor. You may think I'm biased, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm absolutely sure every evening at the end of the day, when I finish my copy or finish signing off the edition, that we have done an honest job. Mistakes will be made. There will always be one or two black sheep among us. But by and large, never forget, it doesn't matter whatever the form is. This is something you have to feel extremely proud of the responsibility you have. Don't take this thing very lightly. It's not, I mean, the glamour may be of 5 minutes, but behind that glamour, the celebrityness is hard work, the same skills, same obligations, same diligence, requirements of diligence, of fairness, of fact-checking, of data collection, cross-checking facts, all those things which you have, I'm sure you have been taught in your classrooms. So whether you want to be a YouTuber, be a YouTuber. But in the long term, you will be effective or social influencer or community radio person or an editor or a streaming anchor, whatever you do, choose to do. Or even if you want to go into professional PRship, again, for a time being, if you are doing PRship for a company, it may be something you can sell a shoddy product for one time, but you can't be building up trust behind the brand, behind a product, behind a publishing house. Still, so people, when you say that it's a Tata product means there is great degree of truthfulness behind that thing. So, again, young friends, my only message to United today is that we need to remain all the time mindful of who we are as journalists, what is our role, and why we do things, and the enormous satisfaction you will get in various kind of reportages. Once you bring out truth, it has its own consequences in society. People's life change, communities' life change, nations' life change. So you become without wanting to be, you become an agent of change. When I was in Hindu, for example, one of my colleagues heard of that farmers in Maharashtra committing suicide. So we said, why don't you go to Maharashtra and spend a couple of weeks? Now for 3 weeks, the gentleman, you must have heard his name, P. Sainath. He spent time in scorching summer. Drought was there. When you were out in the field, there is no AC. You're not rushing back to AC, and there is no probably bottled water also. So this is and 3 weeks talking to farmers, understanding what particular, and then you see a pattern, and then you write a story. He wrote a 3-part story in the Hindu on the front page. And Dr. Manmohan Singh, he was Prime Minister at that time, he read these stories, and he said, is it that serious? I myself will go to Maharashtra and see for myself. So he goes to Maharashtra, he spent 2 days, and then the whole process of something called Narega started out of that. How do we give relief to people who are suffering? So one reporter, taking seriously his job, the kind of change you can do, bring about in society positive change, and even otherwise you have, it's a, I mean, whatever the form is, people will remember. You may have forgotten. After 20 years, you will forget what stories you wrote 15 years ago, or 5 years ago, or even if you're doing everything on a daily basis, you forget what you wrote. But there's such great satisfaction when somebody comes to you, you meet strangers that you, sir, you did that, wrote that story, or you did that podcast. I remember, sir, you reporters from Kargil war. You television, you were very good at that. So those are the people, you stay back in people's mind. On January 2001, there was a 26 2001. There was a earthquake in Kutch. So 2 days later, the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Bajpayee, went to see for himself how big the damage was. And I was among the 3-4 journalists who was allowed to accompany him. So from Delhi, we went by Air Force to Jamnagar, and from Jamnagar we shifted on helicopters to because the runway, there was no runway, and everything was spoiled. And it was a sight. And I remember coming back and writing a story. The headline which sticks in my mind is Calligraphy of Death. And then sometime in 2015, when I went to Tribune, joined the Tribune, and one of my reporters from, I had my first reporters meeting from various districts, and one reporter came and he said, sir, I'm very honored that you are my editor now, and I have this cutting from those days, saving it. So there would be days of satisfaction, frustration, achievement, and the good thing about the work we do as reporter is that you never know what a difference you are making to people's life. You are educating actually people. 10 years down the line, if somebody in Oxford University would be doing research on what has happened in, say, Delhi riots few years ago, he will be referring to somebody's podcast, somebody's reporter, somebody's television kind of thing. So we are creating history. As they say, we are the first draft of history. So it's faces have changed, technology, face is changing, technology is changing. Maybe the value system is also changing. Maybe the earlier missionary mode has changed into something else. Yet, each one of you has to remember that it's essentially journalism, essentially an instrument of truth. And truth becomes more powerful if it is trustworthy. It comes from a trustworthy person. So then becomes a notion of credibility. Credibility of a newspaper, credibility of a television, of a portal, credibility of individuals. After a while, some individuals become, Ms. Barkhadar becomes a name for herself, Ravish Kumar becomes a name for himself. So it's, in the good old days, you had Mr. Shamlal, Mr. Girilal Jain in the Malhotra. All those people were there and they were all. So I will again end up and with a simple thing, journalism is journalism. And basic journalism is search, as honest, as diligent, with as much honesty, with fairness, as search for truth. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for knowledge sharing. A journalist's primary responsibility is towards his readers. The floor is now open for question and answers. I request students, if they have any queries, please, you may please ask your questions now. Yeah, faculty members as well. You can also ask your questions.
Sir, so we are from the current batch of masters in journalism. So my question to you is that, like, what are the key lessons that, according to you, you should provide us as we are entering the field of journalism? We are the current batch. We are just going to enter. So.
The only advice, again, what I was just saying, whatever you do, individually, I mean, when we were reporting, there was this sense of competition. You call it vanity, you call it pride, you call it desire for excellence, that I will be the first to break a story, my story would be correct, and my story will not be contradicted. So you can do whatever you want to do. Remain, as I was saying earlier, please remember, it's not something which you can do in between two evening parties. It's a profession. Journalism is a profession requiring you will eventually discover, if you stay in the profession, that you will be called upon to make many sacrifices. Your family life would get affected. Your social life would be limited to, as long as I was on reporting duty, I could never invite anybody home because never sure I'll reach home in time. And this is to you, all the senior faculty who are there, this is the case. So it's not picnic. And it can be fun. Make it fun. Don't carry any baggage. As long as you are doing something truthful and you convince your seniors that what you are doing is truthful, and this is something which you will have to fight for stories, because the space is limited, people's attention is limited, and don't resort to cheap tricks. Don't resort to falsehoods. That comes very easy. Yeah. But at the end of the day, remember, it's a hard work, important work, but important work. And it's initial first 4 or 5 years would be very, very tough and demanding on you. I hope you will have the support of your family, understanding from your family and friends.
Thank you so much, sir. Next question is from Mansi. She is first year student, MAMC.
So with the advent of social media, there is a rat race going on, and with the media houses who are more fixating on the business aspect of the news. So how would you suggest that we should deal with the problem of misinformation and ethical dilemmas that the journalists usually face in the newsroom?
I mean, there's no easy answer to that question. But again, I mean, a reporter would know whether he or she is peddling a false story. You may not have all the pieces of the puzzle. Sometimes you have 30% of pieces of puzzle, and with intelligence and with your background and understanding of various players, you can make it out this is a lion, not a tiger. But you can't make out, we can say that if somebody is saying it's elephant, you say, no, yes, it's an elephant with 5 legs. So it will come down to each person's, each house, media house, if you're working with a media house. fake news, false news doesn't bother many people. Only political people get, and only when you were doing really, I mean, I could, for example, put out with two sadhus standing next to me and saying that they have discovered a great cure for diabetes. And for 30 days you have this and your diabetes is over. So this would be harmful to the society. So those kind of things we know what we are doing. So if you, and there may be occasions when you are working as a young reporter and you news editor, whoever you are reporting to, and say, Sushma, I want a story from you. Bring it to me. So, what is it? So many people are doing a story, you can't find a story. So, that's the time when you will have to ask yourself whether you want to do a fake story or false story. So these are no easy answers, but I mean, how desperately you need a job, how, and there's a, new intoxication, no more in television. People were initially paid such high salaries that they have talked themselves out of the market. So now the sky has fallen apart, so many people know. But that's a dilemma that people, you can be shown a whole bag full of money and you get tempted and then you are afraid to lose that thing because you have already bought 2 cars and 1 house and mortgage and all those things. So these are the personal choices. Each one of us is very different. There is no simple, but reasonably intelligent people know when they are being deceitful or when they are being truthful. So the choice becomes very clear. I mean, 90% truthfulness, 10% what is called padding is understandable, but the reverse ratio is not. Thank you.
Yes, sir. One more question from, okay, Devang, sir. Ishika, you can give the mic to Devang, sir also needs to ask.
Good evening, sir. My question is regarding the value of perseverance for young journalists. When a lot of young journalists join editorial offices, what happens is that if they are sent out on beats, there are instances when they might be excommunicated or asked to leave the office, and a lot of them, they have this feeling that that maybe we are not cut out for journalism and that journalism is not something that we can pursue. So how, what is the message that you would like to give these budding journalists, especially regarding perseverance, and why is perseverance important in this profession?
Again, it's a very crucial question. People it's very easy for somebody who has a certain, basic elbow room to myself in a way. But I will, if there's a young reporter, 23-year-old girl whose parents have retired, who is not, and the rewards are slow, recognition is, maybe some places there may even be exploitation of different kinds. Those are painful realities, but that would be, in my view, in every sphere of life. We live in a very cruel world. But the learning experience the young reporter gets, it will make him or her a sturdier citizen, a sturdier reporter. It may, so my advice would be persevere, put up with the difficulties, and think of it as a, again, never forget the larger cause, larger service to this society and nation you are doing as a good journalist.
Ishika also wanted to ask a question.
Good evening, sir. Sir, I wanted to ask that as you mentioned, you have no connection with the digital world as of now. So do you plan on adapting to the same?
No, I am quite satisfied with the. I fortunately I have access to a digital platform called The Wire. I write for that, and which suffices my professional need for an outlet to. I don't take money from them. I don't have need for something, but it's a each has its different values. A newspaper is still, in many ways, would be has a much more lasting value than. I don't think any one of you can recall what were the headline last night on ZTV or whatever, Aaj Tak or whatever you do, 9 o'clock news. I would be very surprised if anybody remembers in this. But it is quite possible if you are a newspaper reader, you will recall 4 days ago you read that editorial in Times of India. Or there was that nice front page picture in Tribune. Or so it's I read Wall Street Journal on my phone now. And I'm still amazed every day, despite the fact that the newspaper is also, newspaper industry, even though they are in the most traditional format, but they also adapting the latest technology. Their journalism is first-rate journalism. Newspapers have survived. 15 years ago, the argument among us journalists was that journalism, newspapers are a dying breed. But comes the COVID, and a wonderful discovery is made by newspapers all over the world, that people have more time now to read newspapers on their mobiles. New York Times circulation has gone up by 80%. Wall Street Journal, they are now investing, they have the resources, they are investing money in sending reporters out. Something that was not happening in between for 15, 20 years. Newspapers have run out of resources. So they are not sending reporters, they are relying on it. Now newspapers are sending reporters and experimenting every day. I mean, we thought the art of making the front page, the great pride news editor used to take in display 6, 7, 8 stories, which is the most important story, which is second lead, third read, where the photograph is there, one big photograph, second big photograph. That process is still there. So it's not that you have to be a good journalist, you have to go to other formats. Thank you.
Yeah. One more student has been eagerly waiting to ask her question. That would be the last question, if you permit, sir. Yeah, Bhamini. Yeah. If you could please hand over the mic to Bhamini.
Good evening, sir. Sir, my question to you is that how do you see the biggest challenges to journalism's credibility evolving today? Like, there are a lot of fake news and misinformations which are spread on our WhatsApp and on other social media platforms. And what practical steps can emerging journalists take to restore and strengthen public trust in the media?
And this is, this problem is not a new problem, actually. It's only the format has changed. In the good old days also there would be wrong news, but in the good old days there was filters in between. So you had there's a reporter sitting in Dibrugarh, for example. He's sending a story. He'll send it to his boss in Calcutta. Calcutta fellow will send it to Delhi. And then 3 layers of fact checking has already taken place. Then the news reporter will see it and he will shout at how stupid man you have, spelled the same name 3 times in 500 words story. So those today, because there is no filters, and the impact is much larger. You do a fake story in Bangalore about Eastern students being beaten up. It could be one single incident. You make it out as if there is a deliberate attempt to assault on all Northeast students, or so the whole of there's a reaction in within 5-15 minutes because you can see it. The good old days, one would never. It's the speed of communication. All of us, I don't know if many of you, but all of you saw 9/11 image of second tower. That fellow, the second plane was coming in, and it was live. Millions and millions of people across the world saw something happening in real lifetime. So that is all the more reason we become more responsible. Our obligation to be as thorough, as diligent, as responsible in factual news than before. Otherwise, we can do far greater damage. 40 years ago, you write some story which may or may not be correct in Madurai edition of the Hindu. So, but if it is sensational news, it can be picked up by anybody in national television, and they will flash it out as if they are breaking the news, and then hundreds of other people will WhatsApp it and multiply it into millions and millions of. So those dangers are there. But again, the fake news. Who promotes fake news? This is something professional organizations like Editors Guild of India and other, we are constantly debating among ourselves, discussing how do we, this is a menace, how do we talk about it. At the end of the day, we discovered it comes down to the same thing. The reporter's sense of responsibility, the news editor's sense of diligence, and the newspaper's own sense of whether portal, newspaper, or whatever it is. This, if a portal is out there to just create sensation, being a partisan, it acquires the image as a partisan. There is something called Sudarshan channel, I believe. It's of a certain religious bent, and it's all new. It's watched only by those who believe in that kind of religious sectarianism, and that is something they have they don't feel that they are greatly professionally obliged. But again, they are covered by the same laws. They know that if they do 10% is fine, wedding is fine 90%, but if you convert the ratio, the law of the land is there and you can be hauled up. So fake news is like drones coming up, and nobody knows which is the real one, which is the fake one. So you can have 15 young of you make contents of the same event, but somebody will, and then you will, if somebody listen to all the 15 and wondering, are we these 15 young ladies, young boys are talking about the same event? So that is the kind of range you can have. Your own reputation would be made or marred. The group you are working with, that group's reputation, people who are financing it, they will have a reason to pause. So fake news, after a while, has its own self-destructive mechanism. It will keep on persisting, but it will not go very far.
Thank you, sir. Okay, all right. There is one more query, sir. Okay, this would be the last question, please.
So good evening, my name is Divyesh Nair. I just wanted to ask a question for the benefit of the kids here. Sir, if you could throw some light on the dying art of cultivating sources, which, when I have been a journalist earlier, so which was the first thing that was taught to us. That's a very important tool. And second thing, a problem which I am at least looking around and finding is that is seeping into print journalism is armchair journalism. These days, informations are available on WhatsApp, press releases are given to you. People have stopped going on field, going on to the spot from where they have to report. So I would really like to hear your thoughts on that, sir.
Yeah, that's a very good question. See, you will probably need to be in regular touch with people. And it's a, when we say I'm cultivating a source, I am, I'm, the professional dilemma is, do I become his confidant? Do I become, if he wants to, supposing a DCP is there, I'm a crime reporter, DCP is there, there's a promotion going to be taking place for Joint Commissioner, please, and there are 3 candidates. Now, if this DCP is one of the candidates, and he knows that Mr. Watts is going to be my potential rival, and if he gives me some dirty material about that time, my antennas should be up. It's a very difficult line to draw at what time I am being used or I'm using. But I need to caution, this is, I mean, these days politicians don't even talk to media and politicians, they talk over the head of reporters. But never trust a politician. Don't think a politician is, he's doing you a favor. He's doing himself favor. And no politician, doesn't matter which political party is big or small, he will have a very poor opinion of the journalist. The trick is to have a poor opinion of the journalist, of the politician. So only then you can have there, like, I mean, I remember when I was resident editor of Ahmedabad, I had instructed my crime reporter that before you go home, you will visit 3 or 4, there was one hospital called Vadilal Hospital, which is the official government hospital. So in case any crime-related accident or body comes, it will come to that place, nobody else. So during the riots, he would go every day and just sit with them when there would be no riots, and have tea and gupshup and kind of thing. When the riots came, he was a familiar figure. So he would have access to the civil surgeons who would tell me 11 bodies have come so far, where the government will keep maintaining there are only 3 deaths. So we will, Times of India will say 11 dead in the city. Everybody else would rely on the press note and say there are 3 bodies dead. So those are the kind of relationships you maintain. Not every time you meet somebody, he is not for his story. It's a relationship you build up, whether it's a builder or a Rotary Club president or a mayor or a, I used to say, when, if you have access to the criminals, sit with them. They will have far greater juicy stories about the police official than anybody else will give you. So my instructions to my reporters was from chief secretary to chief bootlegger in town. Nobody is beyond your pale. Sit with anybody. Chamber of Commerce, you may not be reporting. Chamber of Commerce, chief librarian, mayor, hospital, leading surgeons, vagara, vagara, vagara. If you have good sources in the hospital, you will know which politician has quietly checked in for this or that kind of disease. So it's a first-rate story you get. So these are the all, there may be a time when a story, you know you are being used. But that's a story which in itself needs to come out. I'll give you 2 examples. Do you have time? This must be about 2002 or 2003. Srimati Sonia Gandhi was Congress president. And Mr. Arjun Singh was one of her major advisors. But he was always speak out of turn. And he used to, position himself in public perception among reporters that he is the, what he says is, that's reflecting the views of Mrs. Gandhi, Congress president. And I used to have very good relationship with her even before she entered politics. But the protocol was that she will speak, I will say, but that will never get reported. I will get background understanding of what is happening, but that will never, Srimati Sonia Gandhi said this. So one day we were just, as I was leaving, I said, ma'am, why is Arjun Singh always creating so much space for himself? Why do you allow him? And she said, no, I don't. He doesn't speak for me. So I said, but everybody believes that he is speaking for you. And so he said, no, I'm telling you, he doesn't speak for me. So I've told you. I said, but we have understanding that I don't report whatever we talk about. She said, no, I'm telling you. So I got the point. I came to the office and did just a 150-word story. One of the most effective stories a political reporter could do. Sonia Gandhi says Arjun Singh doesn't speak for her. this. So, Mr. Arjun Singh's दुकान बंद होगी उसकी दुकान बंद. Now, interestingly, next day Mr. Arjun Singh rings up and protests. भाई साहब आपने हमारा point of view तो लिया ही नहीं. I said, Mr. Arjun Singh, where the question of your point of view, the Congress president, there cannot be more authoritative source when she is willing to go on record than the Congress president to say that Mr. Arjun Singh doesn't speak for me. Where the question of any contradiction involved here. So that is one, I mean, now, you can say I have cultivated it for 6 years. Out of 6 years, one story comes out. So that is, and then another example, this was sometime in, I think 2001, Mr. Bajpayee was Prime Minister, and Mr. Brijesh Mishra was National Security Advisor and Principal Secretary. And every 15 days, I and Mr. Mishra would spend an evening together. And both of us were very fond of smoking cigars, so we used to smoke cigars. And we appreciated good wine, so we'll have good wine. So when we used to talk about this and that and that. Now one day I remember Sunday I was on some, at a party, I get a call from Mr. Brijesh Mishra. He said, Harish, I want to tell you something. Now, this was something, so normally, so I said, sir, okay, can I call you in 10 minutes? And so I'll do, I got into quiet place and so. Now, here was the National Security Advisor of India wanting to send a message to Pakistan that Mr. Bajpayee is open to negotiations. So this is something I did just 400-word front page story, and from that followed the Pakistani picked up the clue, and the Agra summit took place. So these are all in many ways. That time I was very clear that I was being used, but it was here a so-called a national purpose was being at stake. One could do this. So there are numerous other, again, diligence, good relationship over the years. You may not get anything out of 6 months out of sitting with somebody. But then, if there is an emergency, the DCP or police commissioner will pick up your phone, recognize you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for patiently answering our queries. Now we move to the farewell and the award section of today's program. First, the farewell notes from our chairperson, Professor Siddharth Mishra, reporter, editor, author, documentary maker, and as he prefers to be called, a storyteller. He has been the mentor of this course and the best person to deliver the farewell notes.
Dr. Khare, Mr. Vats, Professor Charulata Singh, my colleagues who mentor the students, my faculty colleagues, and dear students. Patience is hallmark of this profession, and we had a live example. He spoke for about 30 minutes and answered questions for about 40 minutes. So we as communicators, we as media persons, should always be ready to answer the queries of the people. And we can only answer the queries of the people if we are equipped with knowledge and appropriate language to answer those queries. Today's problem is, and many issues which he has touched upon, today's problem is that there is both lack of language and there is both lack of communication skill. So it is where the credibility of the profession is facing a challenge. And the best example and the most live example of it has been the coverage of Operation Sindoor. All of you know that most of you know that I'm an early riser, go for my morning walk. So on one of these, during these tumultuous days, one of my co-workers, he saw him rushing to me with bleary eyes. And he said that, "I've been calling you all through the night, you did not pick up the phone." Thankfully, fortunately, that night I had forgotten to put my phone on the ring mode and it was on the silent mode. And then when I asked him कि ऐसी क्या बात हो गई? He said, "आपको कुछ पता नहीं आप?" And he was, hammer and tongs on me that I'm no good a reporter, I have no contacts, no information, nothing. Then I said, "But what is it that?" He said, "इस्लामाबाद कैप्चर हो गया, मुनीर अरेस्ट हो गया, ये सारी बातें आई रात को टेलीविजन पे और आपको कुछ पता नहीं है." He said, "Mr. Singh, I would wait for my newspapers to come and verify has really Islamabad fallen or has Munir been arrested." Now, any sincere person, any person with some amount of understanding would know that it is not that easy to go and capture Islamabad. And why would the government of India want to capture Islamabad in the first place? And then why would government of India want to arrest Asim Munir in the first place? So the reporter who is the person, the broadcaster, who is communicating this kind of information, he is doing it from the point of view of paradigm change. So you were talking about the readership. Today we have moved to what is called the consumer of the news. How much of the news is being consumed, how much of the clicks and the TRPs it is getting, and it doesn't really matter to the person that after an hour or so the news falls down as a false news, fake news, something of that kind. But how much the news has been consumed, that is what is the biggest challenge to this profession. Second thing is, which I again insist in my class and which you would also agree with me, sir, that unless and until we understand something, we cannot really know. Even if we have the information, we cannot interpret it correctly. So the same morning I went to the barber shop, and I don't watch news on television, but the barber shop had the television on and there was no escape from it. And the person who was the anchor was saying that Shehbaz Sharif he was creating a kind of similarity between Shehbaz Sharif and Nero of Rome, the great Nero of Rome. And he said that जब रोम जल रहा था तो नीरो फिडल बजा रहा था, और शहबाज शरीफ जब इस्लामाबाद में आ लगा तो वो स्विमिंग कर रहा था. Now this bit made me see what is this connection, why Shehbaz Sharif was swimming. First of all, if there's a fire, how can somebody be in a swimming pool? It's very, very difficult to comprehend. And if there's a fire in Islamabad, how can somebody be swimming in a pool in Islamabad? Then one followed that news, and it was a clipping of Shehbaz Sharif which he was addressing the military leaders, where he was patting their back and telling them that, and he was trying to communicate to them and to the larger world outside that, you see, I have given all the decision-making powers to the army chief, and I had asked him not to bother me unless and until it's a matter of, some great international urgency. And he communicated it कि सुबह की नमाज के बाद मैं स्विमिंग करने जाता हूँ. मैं स्विमिंग कर रहा था, उस समय मेरे पास फ़ोन आया और असीम मुनीर ने मुझे बताया कि ये वगैरह हुआ. So now the anchor cannot comprehend this. Now here Asim Munir is making a very, very important statement. One, he is saying that whatever is happening, it is the general and the military who is responsible for it. I am distancing myself from it. And if they at all get some credit for it, he will again take credit for that also. Look, I allowed my army to have a free hand and this. But this has not been understood by the anchor who is communicating कि वो नीरो, और एक तो पहले वो बार्बर शॉप में जो बार्बर ज़्यादा देख रहे थे, एंड आई एम वेरी श्योर दे रियली डिड नॉट नो हु नीरो वॉज, और नीरो क्यों क्या बजा रहा था. इनफैक्ट मैं बार बार आस्क कि वो क्या बजा रहा था. तो एंड आई रियली डिड नॉट फाइंड ए इंडियन इक्विवेलेंट ऑफ द फिडल. तो एंड आई कुड हैव टोल्ड हिम कि वो सारंगी बजा रहा था या सितार बजा रहा था जब रोम चल रहा था. सो द बिगेस्ट चैलेंज फॉर टुडेज वर्ल्ड ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन, as we all know, we all have been discussing this, is fake news, is wrong information, and your biggest test is the market, because today market is consumer of whatever you communicate. In fact, one of our recent conclaves, I mentioned this, that even in the field of advertising, and there was this case study of Maggi noodles being called bad and being taken off the shelf. And at that point of time, somebody tried to create a market for oneself. The Baba for Haridwar, he launched a Maggi noodle, what is this pharmacy called? Patanjali Pharmacy launched Maggi noodles, and Baba ended up on the television screen eating the noodles, whatever. So, and that was the biggest, that proved to be the biggest non-starter. He was good selling Ayurvedic drugs, he was good selling yoga, but the same person cannot be accepted by consumer as eating noodles and selling noodles. So again, whatever you are communicating, whatever you have to also ensure that your consumer is ready to take your word by its value. He is not going to get carried away for too long. Lastly, sir, the question about the sources which was asked, the sources are very important. But then, you really don't need to have a prime minister or a chief minister or a defense minister. Your source could be anybody in the hierarchy. And as you have rightly said, that even the best source, the crime reporters, when we started as crime reporters, the best source we had was the police chowki in the hospitals, where all the MLC cases, the medical legal cases, they all came first reported. They did not go to the doctor first. They were first brought to that the Havaldar, the head constable there, who recorded a thing. And if you had a contact with the police chowki, you had all the cases in your hand. So so you would say, as on day one, how can I be somebody have a contact with the prime minister or the chief minister or the defense minister? But you can definitely have a contact with somebody in the police chowki of Loknayak Jayaprakash Hospital. And where, and invariably when Delhi was hit hard by terrorism, especially in the 90s, when all the blasts were taking place, most of these blast victims came to LNJP Hospital. And that is where we reporters were magical. Another very important thing as mass communicators, today when we were coming, I was mentioning this to my colleague, Professor Ramesh Sharma, we were passing by what you call Patiala House Court. You see the fun of going to the field and seeing things for yourself. Today, 25 years later, I can recall that I saw Chandra Swami standing in the dock. That I saw, the lawyers, rigorously working, the top lawyers of the country, fighting it out to ensure that Ashok Jain, the owner of Times of India, was not brought into the dock. And when you realize that you are actually, one saw there was this famous Connaught Place shooting case where wrongly people were killed. The actual gangsters were caught and brought and produced in the court. So if you are in the field, if you are there on the watch and ward, you will be a witness to the history happening. And then last of the thing, about the, reading, whatever you get to read, your story may be in a paper bag. A story may be there. an idea may be there. So you would recall about 20 years back, we had this agitation by the Gujar community of Rajasthan demanding reservations. And at that point of time, in our what you call editorial meetings in the evening, I was for the reservation, the other group was against the reservation, and I, in course of discussion, I said ki they are intelligent people capable of doing very good things. Then my editor said ki, why do you say that? I said India's best Shair is from that community, from the Gujar community. And my editor, late Chandan Mitra, then said, let's end the meeting here. Now, ab wahan se aap shaar bilane lage, mujhe shairi nahi sunni, paper nikalna hai. Next day morning, Hindustan Times had a story by historian Pankaj Mishra, which said that in Ludhiana, there was used to be a Muslim Gujar community which migrated in large numbers to Pakistan after partition. And then I texted my editor that, sir, please see this story. He said, I've seen it. And next day in the meeting, he said that, and he knew whom I was talking about. He was a great connoisseur of Bollywood songs and music and this thing. In the next day in the meeting, he asked me, how come did you know that Sahir Ludhiani was a Gujar? I said, sir, there was a Gujar Mahasammelan where this Akshardham temple exists. And I had gone there as a reporter, and they distribute literature. In all these programs and functions that you go, they distribute literature. And you must read that literature. The story may be there. And there was my story that it said, हमारे विद्वान जन और उसके ऊपर सबसे ऊपर में उनका नाम लिखा था. So that I did not do a story that day, but few years later when there was this agitation, that information, that knowledge came in handy and I could get this thing. So you want to go to advertising, you want to go to PR, or if you want to go to journalism, of course, anywhere in the field of communication, if you are lacking in knowledge and if you are lacking in skills to communicate, I think this profession is not for you. But this can be very easily earned by going out and doing some hard work, being out in the field, reading, meeting people, talking to people, interacting with people, and they are your best sources. Maybe at times a better source than the Prime Minister of the country. My congratulations to the passing out batch. It has been a wonderful experience to be working with you, and the best compliment which I got yesterday was that initially we found you to be inscrutable. We did not really know that what you wanted us to do. But my satisfaction is that at the end of the course, you all know what you have done and you all are ready. Some of you have already got your engagements in the industry. Some of you are having big interviews scheduled for tomorrow. So all the best for the interviews and best wishes to you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Let us now move towards the most awaited moments, the award distribution. The awards will be provided in the below mentioned categories: most evolved student, most skilled student, best internship, jury special, and student of the course. A jury consisting of faculty members took the call based on 4 following fundamentals: attendance, performance in internal exam, performance in external exam, and ability to perform and execute exercises as part of assigned group. May I now request our Dean, Professor Dr. Charulata Singh, to kindly announce the name of the award winners. Would also, ma'am, please come. I request Dean to kindly announce the name of the winners. And I request the dignitaries to come in front for prize distribution.
So it's my privilege to announce the awards for the students, though I feel all the students have done exceptionally well and all are good in one thing or the other. So the first category is most evolved student, and the award goes to Kanishka Garg. most skilled student, Anmol Gupta. Just be here, Kanishka, just be here. We will have a group photograph. Most skilled student, Anmol Gupta. Best internship, Krishang Juneja. Jury special, Angelina Florence. And now, the student of the course. Any guesses? Yes. Marin Mary Thomas, student of the course 2023-25. So congratulations. I also take immense pride in sharing that the first batch MAMC student, Palak Ratra, received gold medal from Honorable Chief Minister of Delhi, Ms. Rekha Gupta, and at the convocation in IP University. So I request the esteemed dignitaries to kindly present a token of our appreciation to the first batch gold medalist, Palak Ratra. So now we'll have the group photograph with all the students.
Thank you so much. Sir, it is also, I take pleasure in announcing that we have come up with a souvenir for batch 2023 to 2025. So I would request you, the dignitaries, Charu ma'am, Siddharth sir, Suneet sir, Harish sir, to kindly unveil the souvenir. Thank you so much. I request batch 2023 for a group photograph, please. I also request faculty members and our mentors, please, to kindly come in front for a photograph, please.